Starting. Good evening. This is Rob Bell, and you're watching Getting the Record Straight. This is our Truth to Power segment. Welcome again. Good evening. Please subscribe and share and like. Do all those good things, whether you want to or not. Help a brother out. And stay safe. We're not out of the woods yet with this coronavirus. In fact, there's some areas of the country that are really spiking. So please keep your mask on, continue to social distance, do all those good things that you should be doing, safe things. Just want to remind you that if you go to my website, www.blackrocksoul.com, you can hear my playlist there, which I change up a couple of times a week, and I've been getting some really good feedback and a whole bunch of listeners. We're almost at 7,000. It's been a total of listeners since I started. I think it was October, but moving quite right along with that, and I'm glad to hear that. And of course, if you go to blackrocksoul.com, it'll bring you here. It can also bring you here to Getting the Record Straight and our videos. Today we're going to be talking about the military-industrial complex with a friend of mine who has been involved with many things in the past. I'm just really learning. But importantly, with anti-war activities, and we're going to talk about that and what's going on now in terms of the anti-war left currently. But I've got Amadee Braxton on the phone. Amadee is currently a senior partner at Dragonfly Partners, which is an organizational development and consulting firm. She's a graduate of University of Pennsylvania in African Studies. But for our purposes tonight, she spent 8 years as the director of development for Iraq Veterans Against the War. In addition to that, she's been a member of the Leadership Council for the Black Radical Congress. She's on the board of the HIV/AIDS Mobilization Project, as well as Black Star Film Festival. She's also the president of Leeway Foundation, which funds women and trans artists who work for social change. So I want to introduce all of you to Amadee Braxton. Good evening, Amadee.
Good evening, Rob. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. I hope your trip was okay. Amadee's calling us from New York, and so it was no problems driving, huh?
Yeah, it was smooth sailing for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot to mention also, you can hear Amadee on Friday evenings from 5 to 7. She's hosts a show called Solutions with, is it Reverend Dwayne Royster?
Bishop
Dwayne Royster. And so you can hear WURD on Fridays from 5 to 7. And URD is what, 900 AM?
900 AM, and they also have an FM on the dial now, 96.1 FM.
Okay.
And you can stream it through the Word app as well.
Okay. Good enough. So as I said, I wanted to talk about the military-industrial complex. I've been ranting a bit over the past few weeks about President Trump's declaration, if you will, that he wasn't going to change any of the names, his administration wouldn't even consider changing the Confederate names of the Army outposts, installations. I think it's 10 of them in the United States. And that really got me on a roll the past 2 weeks, although I had found out about it several months ago. But let's go back in time a bit, because it has been a while, Amadee, since you were the director of development for Iraq Veterans Against the War. Take us back to that period and how you got started with them and what motivated you to get involved.
Sure. Well, yeah, it was a long time ago now, but I think we're still facing the repercussions of the U.S. invasion of Iraq after 9/11 and Afghanistan, and we still have troops in Afghanistan, so it's still very, very relevant.
Sure.
I just saw a statistic earlier today that says we have spent, in terms of total cost of the so-called war on terror, it's now over $5 trillion. And we're still paying that today, of course,
sure.
Keeping troops in Afghanistan and all the other stuff we're doing under the war on terror moniker. But I got involved with these veterans back in 2004, and 9/11 had happened, and of course, as you may recall, there was like worldwide protests against invading Iraq. After that, I know that there was a strong majority of people in the U.S., at least I remember in the major cities, tons and tons of protest marches nonstop to try to prevent U.S. invading Iraq. And of course, for many of us, it made no sense whatsoever, since Iraq was not even the source of the attack on 9/11. So, I had been involved just as like an individual person participating in protests, and, was just really upset about what was happening. And, I guess that at that time I kind of felt, I had protested the earlier Gulf War when I was a college student. And to have this kind of repeated, particularly after all the lessons we were supposed to have learned during the Vietnam War, I was just really incensed and outraged that, that we were doing this again, and that, I had this sense of like, aren't we past this by now? Like, haven't we learned that we can't just invade other countries? Like, isn't the world beyond this by now? And so about, early 2000 or mid 2004, I got a call from a friend. I think at the time I was in between jobs. I was doing a little consulting on the side, and I had reached out to my network saying, hey, I'm doing some consulting now. If anybody has any ideas of, a few hours here or there that I could do, let me know. And one of the people responded, an old activist friend of mine, who said, there's this organization starting of Iraq war veterans who are coming home and are really upset about what's happening over there, and feel like what the media is portraying is not really what's happening. It's not what they're experiencing. And they need help, like getting started as an organization. Maybe you could, help them set up an office and do some fundraising work for them. And, it felt like a really meaningful way for me to make a contribution at that time, because I was like, what is, I can't keep marching. Like, marching obviously is not doing much. Calling my representatives and the White House isn't doing much. There wasn't really a big, it didn't feel like anything that we were doing was being effective. So I said, let me meet these veterans and see if I could help them set up this organization. So I really came in at the very beginning of what came to be called Iraq Veterans Against the War, and it eventually expanded to be really a home for Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. And now they changed the name of the organization. If anybody wants to check them out, they're now called About Face. At that time, it was maybe less than 20 people nationally, and it was basically initiated by one guy from Western Pennsylvania named Mike Hoffman, who was a Marine who came back really disgusted by what he had seen during his service. um, had PTSD, felt like the Veterans Administration wasn't really equipped to support him and other returning veterans, and felt like the discourse and the media portrayal of what was happening was totally inaccurate and not the full story. And he just started doing public speaking about his experiences in front of, audiences of a lot of anti-war people. And anytime he spoke, afterwards, there were veterans in the audience who would approach him and say, "Man, I totally agree with you. Like, I want to be doing what you're doing. We have to, organize ourselves." And so that's what made him want to start this organization. So then I came in and helped them get free office space at the Quakers at the Friends Center in Philadelphia, downtown Philly, through my, a relationship I had with folks there, and, got them a P.O. box and very, very basic things at the beginning.
I think I remember running into you down there.
You remember running into me?
I think I did, yeah, because I remember your office there. I don't remember what I was doing there, but
yeah.
I recall.
Well, there's a hotbed of activity there. There's often like political talks and workshops and things.
In fact, I saw Amari Baraka there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, over the next, it seemed like we set up like a membership system for the organization, because basically every time any one of these guys would speak somewhere, more veterans would approach them afterwards and be like, "How can I get involved? How can I get involved?" So we set up a website, and we just every week, every day almost, we would get new members joining from around the country, and we had to go through a process of verifying their service just to make sure they weren't, infiltrators or what have you. But
I'm sorry, but Philly was the headquarters then for what became a national.
The national office was in Philly.
Okay.
Mainly because I was there, and Mike was living in the area, and there were definitely some Philly members. And also, I have to say, just to shout out, the local chapter of Veterans for Peace in Philadelphia was extremely important support network for the younger veterans. And, of course, what I learned through my experience was that anytime you have a war, there's always veterans who come home who are disaffected and outraged by what they've seen and want to talk about it. Not everybody who comes home just goes along with what they were a part of and believes in what they were part of. And so, and of course, anytime there is a military incursion, for the veterans who have become conscious, even the ones who haven't become politically conscious from their experience, veterans are very much affected when we go to war, when we're threatening to go to war, because they've been through it and they know what the experience really means in terms of the human cost of war and the human toll. And so veterans, of course, are more attuned to those issues. And a lot of the veterans, the anti-war Vietnam veterans, and there's thousands of them, they were triggered. Their PTSD was being re-triggered by seeing what was happening in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they were just really, really upset knowing that a whole new generation of young people was going to be going through the same stuff they went through. So Veterans for Peace, which is a national organization as well, they played a really pivotal role in supporting this new organization and really personally supporting the members emotionally and mentally.
Amadee, on that note, let's take a pause, and I'll be right back with you, okay?
Okay.